Remember when your lunchbox felt like treasure? When every crinkle of a wrapper meant a new trade on the playground and the corner store was the closest thing we had to magic? Today we are unwrapping 7 Canadian snacks that defined childhood, vanished from shelves, and left behind nothing but sweet memories. These were not just treats, they were traditions, the flavor of Saturday cartoons and the currency of recess. 7. Cuban lunch, 1940s to late 1990s. The Cuban lunch was simple, solid, and unforgettable. A thick disc of milk chocolate packed with peanuts sitting inside its bright red paper cup. You peeled it like a cupcake and bit into a crunch that hit perfectly between sweet and salty. It did not need advertising or bright packaging because everyone already knew it was there, waiting beside the register at the corner store. It was born in Winnipeg at the Paul and Chambers factory on Ross Avenue, and for decades it was a staple from hockey arenas to movie nights. Parents kept them in glove compartments, kids spent their allowance on them, and everyone knew that Red Cup meant something good. Then came consolidation. Grocery chains started choosing national products over local favorites. When ownership of the factory changed in the late 1990s, new management decided the numbers did not add up. The Cuban lunch quietly disappeared, leaving behind only that familiar red cup and the memory of roasted peanuts melting into chocolate on a cold winter afternoon. 6. Rum and butter, 1970s to mid-1990s. Cadbury's rum and butter bar carried a strange power. It was the candy that made you feel grown up before you really were. That creamy golden center tasted faintly of rum, rich and a little daring, wrapped in smooth milk chocolate that melted just slowly enough to feel expensive. Teenagers loved it because it felt like mischief. Adults loved it because it reminded them of dessert after dinner. It was heavy, buttery, and indulgent in the best possible way. But by the mid-1990s, Canada's taste had changed. Health trends swept through supermarkets, and suddenly, anything rich or boozy seemed out of step. Cadbury's research showed younger shoppers wanted fruit, crunch, and convenience. So rum and butter vanished, replaced by safer flavors that promised less and delivered even less. Still, for those who grew up in that golden window of time, the memory of rum and butter is tied to first paychecks, first dates, and the quiet thrill of eating something that felt just a little forbidden. 5. Mac Toffee Bar, 1930s to late 20th century. The Mac Toffee Bar was not for the faint of heart. Wrapped in its signature tartan paper, it looked innocent until you tried to bite it. Hard as a brick, sticky as caramel can be, it demanded commitment. You cracked it against the counter, broke off jagged pieces, and passed them around like treasure. It was candy as challenge, sweet endurance rewarded with flavor that lasted forever. Macintosh built its reputation on that toughness, celebrating the ritual of patience and persistence. No soft centers, no shortcuts, just pure, chewy determination. When Nestle bought the brand, efficiency won over tradition. The individually wrapped bars were expensive to make, and the company decided to produce toffee in easier forms, slabs and bite-sized pieces that lacked the ceremony. The taste survived, but the experience disappeared. Ask anyone who grew up with it, and they will tell you the same thing. The best part of the Mac bar was not eating it, it was cracking it open. 4. Malted milk, mid-20th century to 1990s. The malted milk bar was steady, dependable, and quietly Canadian. Made by Nielsen, it was pure milk chocolate wrapped around a dense malt nougat center that felt like a full meal disguised as a candy bar. It was not flashy, but it was honest. Grandfathers loved it, fathers kept it in glove compartments, and kids discovered it while rummaging through tackle boxes or garage drawers. It was a worker's candy, the kind you grabbed at the hardware store or the gas station counter before heading out for a long day. The taste was simple and comforting, a mix of sweetness and substance that lasted longer than you expected. But the malted milk bar belonged to an older Canada, one that valued practicality over packaging. When Cadbury took over Nielsen's chocolate line in the 1990s, dozens of smaller bars suddenly competed for the same shelf space. Malted milk looked old-fashioned, and that was enough to seal its fate. By the mid-1990s, it was gone, remembered mostly by those who valued candy that worked as hard as they did. 3. Hostess potato chips, 1935 to 1996. Before global brands and imported flavors took over, there was Hostess, and Hostess was Canada. Those red bags lined every convenience store wall from coast to coast. They introduced ketchup chips to the world, creating a flavor so distinct that it became a national identity. Hostess chips were part of growing up. They were the snack of hockey tournaments, sleepovers, and Saturday cartoons. Every flavor told its own story: ketchup for the bold, dill pickle for the weird ones, sour cream and bacon for the indulgent. It was comfort food for an entire generation. But corporate strategy has no nostalgia. When Frito-Lay took over in 1996, they decided to replace the Hostess name with the global Lay's brand. The chips stayed mostly the same, but the soul was gone. That simple red bag, that familiar logo, and that sense of Canadian ownership vanished overnight. It marked the moment when our snack aisle stopped speaking with a local accent. 2. Bar 6, 1960s to 1970s. Bar 6 was the chocolate bar that made you feel fancy. 6 slim chocolate-covered wafers, neatly wrapped in foil, lined up in perfect precision. It looked imported, elegant, and almost too nice for a kid to buy with pocket change. It had a quiet sophistication that set it apart from the louder candies of its time. Each finger snapped perfectly, the chocolate coating melting just enough before revealing that crisp wafer crunch. For kids, it was a candy bar that made you feel like an adult. For adults, it was a small indulgence that never felt childish. But elegance does not always survive efficiency. When Nestle absorbed Rowntree in the late 1980s, they inherited both Bar 6 and Kit Kat, two wafer-based bars competing for the same market. Kit Kat won. Bar 6 vanished quietly, leaving behind only the memory of that silver wrapper and the delicate sound of one perfect snap. 1. Jersey Milk Treasures, 1970s to 1990s. The Jersey Milk Treasures bar was a masterpiece of curiosity. Every square hid a different flavor: caramel, orange, cherry, or nougat. Each one a tiny surprise waiting under the smooth white lettering. You never knew what you were going to bite into next, and that unpredictability made it magic. Kids invented entire rituals around it. Some nibbled corner by corner, others traded squares with friends, and the lucky ones saved the caramel piece for last. It turned a simple chocolate bar into a shared adventure. But variety came with a price. Each center required a different production line and separate timing. Quality control became a nightmare, and costs rose faster than profits. When Cadbury streamlined their operations in the 1990s, Treasures was the first to go. It was a victim of practicality, not popularity. People loved it, factories did not. And with its disappearance went one of the last great Canadian chocolate experiences that felt both playful and elegant. Each of these snacks tells a story about the Canada we grew up in, a country of corner stores that knew your name, of handwritten price tags, and of treats that tasted better because you earned them with pocket change. They were more than snacks. They were moments. The Cuban lunch reminded us that simple things last the longest. Rum and butter made us feel older than we were. Mac Toffee tested our patience and our teeth. Malted milk rewarded hard work with quiet satisfaction. Hostess chips gave us pride in flavors that felt uniquely ours. Bar 6 taught us that even chocolate could have class. And Jersey Milk Treasures showed us that surprise and delight could fit inside a single wrapper. They disappeared for different reasons: changing tastes, new owners, and the relentless push for efficiency. But what they left behind is stronger than any brand name. It is the feeling of walking into a small shop on a hot afternoon, counting out coins, and choosing something that felt like a celebration. In a world of instant delivery and endless options, those small decisions meant everything. They were a piece of independence, a taste of happiness, and a reminder that joy did not need to come in a family-size bag. Even now, when someone mentions one of these lost snacks, you can see the same reaction: a pause, a smile, a memory. Because these candies and chips were not just products, they were part of who we were, part of a simpler time when flavor and feeling went hand in hand. So, which one takes you back? Was it the crunch of a Hostess chip, the sweetness of rum and butter, or the sound of a Mac Toffee bar cracking on the kitchen counter? Tell us in the comments, share your memories, and help keep these forgotten flavors alive. Because the sweetest treats are the ones we can only taste in our memories. And if you want to keep reliving Canada's lost snacks, vanished stores, and nostalgic moments that shaped a generation, make sure to subscribe. We have more stories coming, and they are just as unforgettable.